Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Granby Journal and Herbs Table. Today I want to make bread. Pretty common thing for most of us to do, but this is a little bit different in that this is no knead bread, so you don't have to mess around with it very much at all. This all came out of a 2006 article in the New York Times where Mark Bittman, the New York Times food writer, interviewed Jim Leahy from the Sullivan Street Bakery in New York. And Leahy showed him a technique for making bread that was really different than almost anything anyone had seen. I've been using this recipe ever since it was published in the New York Times. I think it makes a fantastic loaf of bread, and as a matter of fact, it couldn't be much easier. So, what I want to do is show you how to make no-knead bread a la Jim Leahy from the Sullivan Street Bakery in New York, as modified a little bit by Abelson in Granby. Okay, folks, game on. Let's do no-knead bread. So we're going to take 3 cups of flour, 1, 2, 3. Be nicer if I had a bigger bowl that was clear, but I don't. We'll add to that 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. Let's mix that up a little bit. And this is just all-purpose flour. You can pretty much use anything you want, but all-purpose baking flour. And to this, I'm going to add 1 1/2 cups of water with a couple of drops of red wine vinegar in it. Just a couple. So really about 1/4 teaspoon. And there we go. So just a little splash. Let's add that. And this is warm water, not hot, not tepid, just sort of warm. And let's mix that up. And you could do this, of course, with a spoon or a spatula, or could be a wooden spoon, it could be plastic, it could be whatever you like, but I'm just doing this the easiest way I can, which is just to mix it up with my hand. Okay, so there we go. It's pretty much mixed up, and what we do now is just let it sit. It's just a small amount of yeast. I only put 1/4 teaspoon in. We usually put up to a tablespoon when we're making bread by a traditional method. So we're going to let this sit now. I'm going to cover it, let it sit for about 12 to 18 hours, depending on how much time I've got and when you put it up. It's essentially going to sit overnight. And then tomorrow, we're going to take this and turn it into a fantastic loaf of bread. Now, as you can see, as I'm trying to get all this off my fingers, it probably would have been smarter if I used a spoon or a spatula or something to mix it up, but no big deal. All right, there we are, and we'll come back tomorrow when this has had a chance to sit and do its thing overnight. This yeast is going to start working on the flour, and tomorrow we'll turn this into a fantastic loaf. So I'll be back soon and we'll complete it. Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back to Herb's Table. We've had our bread sitting overnight in this bowl. I don't know whether you can see it, it's right here. And I've had it covered with a dishcloth just to keep it covered. And I'll take that off and you can see what this looks like. You see it's rolling around a little bit in there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this out of the bowl, put a little bit of flour on it, and fold it over a few times before I put it into the bowl in which we're going to cook it. Now, normally, in the past, I cooked the bread in a bowl like this. And this is very nice. It's pottery, you can heat it up hot, it's got a top, all those things are important. The problem with this one, and the reason I'm not going to use it today, even though it's just the right size, is there's a lip on this pot. And so when the bread cooks, I have a hard time getting it out, and I sort of have to chew the bread up to get it out, and it's not going to look pretty. So I'm not going to use this, but otherwise that's an ideal size. What we really need is a pot like this, or a cast iron pot with a lid that's going to be able to go into the oven. So we're not going to use it, so let's push it out of the way. All right, here we are with our dough. Let me put some flour on the counter here a little bit. And let's get the dough out of the bowl. Let's see if I can get it all out. Wants to stick a little bit, but hey, that's the way it goes. It's on the flour. I'm going to turn it over a couple of times, like so. We're not kneading it. And I'm going to just flip it over, like so. Flip it a couple of times. Like that. And now I'm going to get our pot out of the oven. So I've taken a Dutch oven, I've put it into the stove at 500 degrees with the lid on. This is key. Get the pot really hot. Have it ready to go. What I'm going to do is go and get the pot, put it here on the counter, throw the dough in. I hope not burn myself in the process. And then we're going back in the oven for 30 minutes with the top on, and after that we'll take the top off for another 15 or 20 minutes. So, all right, here we go for the business end of things. Let me get some gloves so I can get this thing out and not, I hope, burn myself up. Here's the pot. Okay, now we're going to take and throw the dough in. Voila! And now the top goes back on. The pot goes back in the oven. Now this is way too big a pot. It would be much better with the other one, but I wouldn't be able to get the dough out. I wouldn't be able to get the bread out, rather, very easily. So in the dough goes into the oven. I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to take the lid off. During this first 30 minutes with the top on, it's going to simulate a professional baker's oven. That is, it's going to steam the bread as well as cook it. So let me go set the time. Okay, we are cooking. So 30 minutes and I'll be back to show you what's next. To recap for you, the bread's been in the oven for 30 minutes with the lid on at 500 degrees. Then I took the lid off for another 15 minutes at 500 degrees. So total cooking time 45 minutes, and it looks like we've got 1 minute to go and we'll take it out. I hope this is going to be something we're all going to think looks great. So here I go to check out the oven. Okay, here we are. We've got our loaf of bread. This thing is red hot. Let me get rid of that. And here we are. A nice looking loaf. I guess I could have thrown some flour on it before I put it in the oven. That would have given it perhaps a little more interest. But you wouldn't normally cut into bread when it first comes out of the oven. It's just got to sit and it's got to cool off, and this thing is very hot, having been in a 500 degree oven. But we're going to cut it anyway to see what it looks like. So let me get something on here and give it a go. Ooh, that's a nice crust. And it's just steaming. So let me get another one of these on and let's see how that looks. Can you see that? Looks beautiful inside. Lots of lovely air pockets. It's steaming like crazy. It's got a wonderful crusty exterior, and I think it's going to be delicious. So this is really easy to make. This is no knead bread. We'll post exactly the directions here in just a bit. But you've got to give this one a try. It's going to taste terrific. So thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Granby Journal and Herb's Table. See y'all soon. Bye-bye. I wonder if they'd like it better if I put a little cinnamon and allspice on the pumpkins.